Senator Kirby, you're recognized. Cut his mic on, please.
Is this working? It is now. Thank you, Mr. President. Call up House Concurrent Resolution number 69 as the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Concurrent Resolution 69, House Concurrent Resolution number 69, a concurrent resolution to extend the 2020 regular session of the legislature for successive periods of 30 days from the ending date of the previous extension of the session, to provide that the House and Senate shall reconvene at noon on Monday, October 5th, 2020, unless the Speaker of the House and Lieutenant Governor jointly determine that it is not necessary to reconvene, to provide that upon certain conditions the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor may jointly determine that it is necessary for the House and Senate to reconvene before October 5th, 2020, and the House and Senate shall reconvene on a date and time jointly declared by the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor, to provide that the House and Senate shall not convene for more than a total of 6 days during the successive periods of extensions authorized by the resolution, to provide that the 2020 regular session of the legislature shall stand adjourned sine die at midnight on October 10th, 2020, unless an early date is necessary to comply with the 6-day limitation, or unless an earlier date is set by concurrent resolution, to provide that the adjusted timetable for processing legislation issued by the House and the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor under the authority of House Concurrent Resolution number 65, 2020 regular session is amended by deleting the date of sine die on the 188th day, to suspend the deadlines for the passage of the drafting, introductions, consideration, and passage of any bill, and for the purpose of permitting the further consideration and passage of any bill which is related to any action, activity, authorization, or expenditure to address or otherwise due to the public health emergency with respect to COVID-19, and which is authorized to be drafted, introduced, or considered further by either the House Rules Committee or the Senate Rules Committee, and for related purposes.
Make the usual motion, Mr. President.
Sir, Chairman makes the usual motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those
Aye.
opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Call up the strike call in lieu of the original bill. I'd like to explain.
Chairman moves to adopt an amendment to the strike call. Please proceed
Say that.
to explain.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, let me explain. And first thing I'm going to tell you is we do have an amendment to this. After I explain the strike all, there's an amendment to the strike all that Senator Hobson will explain. I don't know if any of you are familiar with what all it does, but I'm going to go through it really quickly, and then at the end I'll tell you in just a few words what it does. So, this strike all provides that the House and Senate will reconvene on noon on Monday, October the 5th, 2020, unless the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor jointly determines it's not necessary. Provides that if Congress appropriates money in addition to the amount of funds that we've appropriated on March 27, 2020 by the CARES Act, or if the regulations or guidance governing the use of such funds are revised or updated after the passage of this resolution. So at that point, then the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor, if things change, in other words, they can jointly determine it's necessary for the House and Senate to come back in before October the 5th. It provides that the House and Senate shall not convene for more than 6 days. Now, that means by October the 5th, if we use our 6 days, we can't come back October the 5th. So it's 6 successive days that's authorized in this resolution. I'm trying to think. It provides that the 2020 regular session stand adjourned sine die on midnight on Saturday, October the 10th. So when you come in on the 5th, you'll be gone on the 10th. It specifically says that. Unless an earlier days comply with the 6-day limitation. In other words, if we use the 6 days before, then we won't be here then. Provides that the current deadlines are amended by deleting the date of the sine die. So that's pretty much what it does. The amendment, we have an amendment to this strike all that Senator Hobson will explain that makes it clearer. I won't get into the amendment, so I'll be quiet this time and yield to Senator Hobson.
Well, I think you have a motion, Senator, the chairman has moved to amend it to the strike all. And so I would say all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now we're on to, Mr. Chairman, you can lead, yield to Senator Hobson. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. President. Should be a proposed amendment to the strike all that's on your desk. And the intent, there are two intentions here of this amendment. One is to make sure that the resolution is very clear that the limited purposes for which we would be called back are, number one, there's flexibility changes made by Congress as to the utilization of the funds within the CARES Act, or number two, there are additional funds appropriated from Congress to the states for the CARES Act or COVID-19 pandemic. And the second part is the removal of some language that had been placed into it concerning veto authority. I know that a few of my colleagues here, we discussed this. We don't think that we need to retain any veto authority over the governor and change up anything else that's worked in this state for all these years. So that's what the amendment does, and I'll be happy to yield to questions, Mr. President.
Any questions? Senator Wiggins, you're recognized for what purpose?
Friendly question.
Would you please frame your question?
Thank
Is this
you.
on the amendment? Senator
Yes,
Wiggins?
on the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing this. So just to be clear, that's taken out all the references in the resolution to the veto. I think there were two places which included about any piece of legislation, and then there was something related to, I guess, the CARES Act. But bottom line, it's taking out all the references to a veto. Is that correct?
The amendment is, yes, that's the intent, and if you see anything different than that, let me know. But the amendment's looking on line 64 and 65, that the language that would allow the vetoes for the governor, that's being deleted. And then I think there's another place on, that's related to the days on 74 through 76.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, this would be
Adoption of the amendment, Mr. President.
Senators move to adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Chairman, back on the bill, on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, just for a quick summary, the amendment tightened up the bill, took out the veto, limits us to 6 days, won't come back before October the 5th unless we have to because of the rule changes, whatever, or additional funds. And like I say, the veto language is taken out. And I'll be glad to answer any questions. If not, ask for adoption by the use of the morning roll call.
We adopted the amendment, Senator. We're on to adopt the strike all.
Excuse me. You're right. We need to adopt the strike all as amended, so I move that we adopt the strike all as amended, Mr. President.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now we're on the resolution.
Now I move by passage by use of the morning roll call for the strike all as amended.
Chairman moves by use of the morning roll call. Does anyone object to the procedure? Seeing none, does anyone wish to be voted as no? We have one. McDaniel Sojourner. Anyone else? Anyone else? And Senator Jackson is present, Mr. Clerk. Thank you. With that, there's no one else. So it is passed. That the resolution passed, we can move to the calendar. Does anyone have any announcements? I think we have some committee meetings. Senator Jackson, for your committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Municipalities will meet in 408 immediately upon recess.
Immediately upon recess. Other announcements, Senator Blackwell,
Introduction out of order.
please proceed.
I'd like to ask my Senate colleagues to look in the West Gallery and welcome County Supervisor Lee Caldwell and Northern Transportation District Commissioner John Caldwell.
4:30. Did you fail to introduce someone else that's up there? You get his spouse as well? All right. Any other announcements? Senator Wiggins, it's good to have you both. Thank you very much for coming. It's good to see you both.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, Judd B will meet at 2:30 in room 409, or right after Judd A if Judd A goes past 2:30. So we will not meet at 1:15, but we'll meet at 2:30 and 409. Thank you.
2:34 now, Mr. Clerk. Senator Hobson, you're recognized for announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to bump the appropriations meeting to 1:45. I don't think it's going to take too long to cover the bills that we've got. In light of Senator Jackson's committee meeting, I think that'll give folks an opportunity to get down to appropriations. 1:45, room 216. Thank you.
1:45, Mr. Clerk, 216. Any other announcements? Mr. Clerk, would you read the announcements, please?
Municipalities will meet upon recess in room 408. County Affairs will meet in room 408 upon adjournment of municipalities. Judiciary Division B will meet in room 408 at 2:30 p.m. Judiciary Division A will meet in room 409 at 2 p.m. Appropriations will meet at 1:45 p.m., room 216. Public Health and Welfare will meet in room 216 at 3 p.m. Local and private will meet at 4 p.m. in room 409. And that's it.
That's it? Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Senator McMahon, you're recognized for what purpose?
Covered it. He covered it.
You got it. Good. Senator Polk, you're recognized. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we stand in recess until 4:30 this afternoon.
Subject to call 4:30 today. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Stand in recess.